On the 15th of May, 1962 in Chicago, the bodies of two men and a woman were discovered by police in the trunk of a car. The two dead men in the car were connected to the Chicago outfit and made the boss Tony Accardo furious because the killing hadn't been sanctioned. To find out who had done the killing outfit, boss Tony Accardo puts a young man by the name John Spilotro in charge of finding out who done the murders. Although Spilotro only stood 5'5", his reputation for violence was huge. He soon found out from his childhood friend Frank Collada that Billy McCarthy had came to him needing a few guns because he had been jumped by two men, so Collada sold him the guns that was used in the hit. Because of their friendship, Spilotro agreed to spare Collada's life if he would help him locate McCarthy. After tracking down McCarthy, Spilotro began asking him questions like, who gave him the okay to kill the three people, and how many people was in on it? McCarthy wouldn't budge on giving him any information. So Spilotro began to torture him by stabbing him with an ice pick and beating on him. McCarthy still refused to give up any information, so Spilotro grabbed McCarthy and stuck his head in a vise. He began tightening the vise, and the pressure forced one of his eyes to pop out of his head. Only then McCarthy gave up the name Jimmy Miraglia. The bodies of McCarthy and Miraglia were found in the trunk of a car a week later, but law enforcement wasn't able to gather any evidence at all, and the case grew cold and was known as the M&M murders. Again in 1973, Spilotro was called on again by the outfit for a hit that needed done on one of their members, Sam DeStefano. DeStefano was a big-time juice loan operator and was making a lot of money for himself and the outfit during the 1960s and the 1970s. But in November 1963, DeStefano had a violent argument with an associate, Leo Foreman, a real estate agent and one of DeStefano's juice loan collectors in Foreman's office. DeStefano was physically ejected by Foreman from his office, and then he went into hiding. Later on, DeStefano underlings Tony Spilotro and Chuck Grimaldi contacted Foreman and said DeStefano wanted to let bygones be bygones. Foreman was lured to DeStefano's brother's house and was murdered soon after. Then in 1972, Sam and his associates were eventually indicted for the Foreman murder. As in his previous trials, DeStefano had raised a large amount of public interest with his bizarre behavior. He made demands to represent himself, dressed in pajamas, shouted through bullhorns, and rambled incoherently, thus bringing in several news stations and broadcasting his wild antics on television. This was bringing a lot of attention towards the Chicago outfit. DeStefano then started displaying similar behavior in the Foreman trial. The outfit bosses began to worry DeStefano was not only jeopardizing his own defense, but also the defenses of his other crew members. In a secret meeting, the boss of the Chicago outfit, Tony Accardo, gave DeStefano's crew permission to kill him. On April 14, 1973, DeStefano was to meet with his brother, Mario Anthony DeStefano, and associate Spilotro in the garage of his Galewood neighborhood home in the 1600 block of North Sayre Avenue. Before the meeting began, Spilotro entered the lot with a sawed-off shotgun and shot DeStefano twice, hitting him in the chest and tearing his left arm off at the elbow, instantly killing him. The murderer was never brought to trial. During the 1970s, the Chicago outfit, along with other mafia families, were raking in millions of dollars through skimming and stealing money from several of casinos they owned in Las Vegas. The man they had in charge over the casino operations was Frank Lefty Rosenthal. Rosenthal was a genius when it came to professional sports gambling and handicapping, and was once called the greatest living expert on sports gambling. But Rosenthal didn't have a tough guy reputation, so the outfit sent Spilotro to Las Vegas to protect their money and Rosenthal. Spilotro's main job was to make sure the Stardust skim made its way safely to Chicago. But Tony had bigger plans for Las Vegas. He wanted to export the mob's tried-and-true criminal rackets, loan sharking, extortion, robbery, burglary, to his new hometown in the desert. It would be his undoing. In 1979, Spilotro summoned Collada to Las Vegas to serve as his criminal lieutenant. Collada put together a crew that became known as the Hole-in-the-Wall Gang. They burglarized businesses, houses, and hotel rooms, sometimes by punching a hole in the wall to avoid tripping the alarm. By this time, Tony's luck began to run out, and he had also started having an affair with Rosenthal's wife, Jerry, and the hole-in-the-wall crew had attracted unwanted attention from law enforcement, and the FBI was able to get an informant to join and start working with Collada and the crew. On July 4, 1981, the Hole-in-the-Wall gang attempted to burglarize Bertha's Gifts and Home Furnishings, a high-end store on East Sahara Avenue in Las Vegas. The crew's plan was to wait until it grew dark, and while fireworks was covering the noises of the drills and hammers, they began making their way in. But the robbery was a bust, as the FBI and the Las Vegas Metro Police had an inside informer named Sal Romano in the gang. Much of the gang was arrested in and around Bertha's, including Collada, ex-Metro officer Joe Blasco, Leo Guardino, Ernest Davino, Lawrence Newman, and Wayne Matecki. Each man was charged with burglary, conspiracy to commit burglary, attempted grand larceny, and possession of burglary tools. In 1982, Frank Collada was imprisoned again and was approached by the FBI with a wiretap of Spilotro talking with someone about having to clean our dirty laundry, which Collada took as an insinuated contract on his life. Due to this, in July 1982, Collada decided to become an informant and testify against several members in the Chicago outfit. He also testified that Spilotro, his boss in Las Vegas, ordered him to make a telephone call that lured one of the 1962 murder victims, William McCarthy, to a fast food restaurant. But Spilotro was acquitted later that year. Although he had dodged a bullet on the murder trial, Spilotro was facing heat from the outfit because he had gotten so much trouble in Vegas over being connected to the burglary crew, and he was also being looked at by Vegas for a few unsolved murders. Because of Spilotro, all of the casinos and the outfit bosses was being heavily investigated over the skim. On June 14, 1986, on the beliefs of Michael being inducted into the outfit as a made man, the two brothers were summoned to meet several top outfit members in Chicago. But instead of Michael being made, it was a meeting to tie up loose ends, meaning Tony and Michael. According to Nicholas Calabrese, the two brothers was ushered to a basement in a house in the Chicago suburbs. As the two brothers was entering the basement after seeing what was going on, Tony quickly asked if he can say a prayer. It's around this time the two was violently beat to death with baseball bats. Calabrese even says that Tony was forced to watch his brother be beat to death. The bodies were later transferred to an Indiana cornfield. John Fecarata, who was in charge of getting rid of the two bodies, was murdered a few weeks after Tony and Michael were found for botching the disposal. Michael's wife, Anne, reported both brothers missing on June 16th, and Michael's car, a 1986 Lincoln, was recovered several days later in a motel parking lot near O'Hare International Airport. The Spilotro brothers' fate had been sealed in January 1986. In the wake of the imprisonment of Joseph Ayupa and John Cerrone for skimming Las Vegas casino profits, a meeting was held that month at the Czech Lodge in North Riverside, Illinois. Most of the upper echelon were there, including outfit boss Tony "Joe Batters" Accardo, and it was at this meeting where the vote was held to kill Tony and Michael Spilotro. Tony, who would often give the Catholic Church tens of thousands of dollars, was denied a public church funeral by Roman Catholic Archdiocese of Chicago due to their involvement with organized crime, specifically their reputation as mobsters.